Hello, everyone. Today's discussion is with Tosin Eniolorunda, the founder and CEO of Nigerian Fintech TeamApt. Hi, Tosin. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Emeka, and thanks for having me.
Fantastic. No, so I mean, we brought you on because TeamApp just raised a significant round of funding from QED. And one of the things you say in the press release is that TeamApp is Nigeria's largest business payments and banking platform. So I think a lot of people would be actually surprised to hear that. TeamApp has kind of been under the radar more so than a lot of companies, but you have the numbers to back it up, right? So you shared that you serve 400,000 small and medium-sized businesses. You shared that you process basically on a monthly basis right now $8 billion worth of transactions. So when you annualize that, that's over 100 billion processed per year, right? So obviously, pretty significant numbers. So I just want to, get it from you to what do you attribute that success, right? How have you been able to achieve such traction? The company was just founded in 2015.
Yeah, yes, indeed, these are some of the numbers that we're doing. We were founded in 2015. Between 2015 and 2019, we actually a provider of software services for Nigerian banks and African banks, actually, not just Nigeria. So in 2019, we pivoted and started Moniepoint. Between 2019 and now, Moniepoint grew. We initially focused on providing agency banking services and later diversified into complete business banking solutions, focusing on payment acceptance offline and online, and allowing our businesses to also access credit, be able to have business operation tools like expense cards, accounting, and bookkeeping. Essentially, becoming a business platform that every small to medium business owner would find very useful to run and grow their business. Like our numbers have said, we do roughly now around around $100 billion every month, every year now on a run rate basis. Uh, for example, in NIBS, we're the third largest financial institution in terms of transactions outward, and this is on the basis of NIP. And for card acceptance, we're certainly number one in the ecosystem. We process by some ranking about 25% of Nigeria's GDP through our platforms. And we think that this is just the beginning for us because we only have 400,000 businesses. Nigeria has 42 million small and business owners, and this represents a huge runway for us in Nigeria. We're also not trying to focus on Nigeria only, certainly. Nigeria is our starting market, and we're currently doing deals outside Nigeria, hopefully announced soon. But we're more or less focused on a world term. I think it is time we built businesses where, of course, started from Nigeria, but focused on be able to take it to more geographies of the world. The theme that we're pursuing is a theme that we think is actually an important theme across many demographics of the world, many geographies of the world. And we don't think it is very well um, played out, even though there's a big need for it. Even in important economies as big as the UK, you don't have platforms that put all these needs in a cohesive, simple to use interface for small businesses, small and medium businesses, and so be able to accept payments, be able to access credit, be able to access business operation tools in a simple, easy to use, cohesive platform. And that's a theme that we're pursuing for the rest of the world.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Emeka. Yeah.
No, so I think so. You talk about effectively building a cohesive, all-in-one platform for SMEs, small and medium-sized businesses, right? And you've kind of you also talked about
Yes.
the pivots that TeamApt has gone through since you started. So I'm just curious if you look back, whether it's for the SME sector, whether it's about building a company. Just if you look back over the years, what insights would you say have you learned? Whether it's about the market, whether it's about building teams that has really helped you achieve the traction to date.
Yeah, I mean, lot of lessons along the way. I think one of it that almost always stands true, regardless, any day, anytime, is that we should be obsessed about our customers. Customer obsession is extremely key. The boss of all of us, the chairman of all of us, are the customers, and customer obsession will mean from your customers being really happy with you, which means they will also refer many other businesses to you, to your customers essentially because they feel very close to you, giving you a lot of feedback about your platform that can allow you improve, to your customers also, basically not making you require a lot of marketing to get more sales. So, I mean, that became real for us. For example, for a very long time, we never really did adverts. Even up till now, oh yes, now we do adverts. But for a very long time, we don't do adverts, and we're growing mostly through word of mouth, mostly through referrals, and it was a very, very powerful, effective method of growth. So, customer obsession is one. Two, man, you do make sure you win, right? The world just doesn't favor losers or average. The way of the world is almost as if winners keep winning because they keep getting access to all the resources, all the talents, all the support, and the world is not an average world. It's by design made to always make winners win and losers struggle. So in all you do, you just need to ensure that you keep being really paranoid. You are very aware and never really, really rest on your hours. Three, the importance of talent. You need to ensure that you have the best guys. Half to three quarter of your work, depending on what level of traction or the organization you are, is on talents. As a matter of fact, that's why we actually call the company TeamApt then, because we felt like if we have the right app people in the team, we will be able to achieve anything that we set our minds on. So the importance of people cannot be understated, and creating an internal culture that allows high performing people to enjoy working there and be able to also attract more high performing people. Um, in our particular ecosystem, compliance and regulation is very important. Just like in any form of business, legal is the first thing you need to ensure is sorted. Otherwise, you'll be building on a shaky ground. So we have tried our best to ensure that we stay on the good side of regulation and try to ensure that we build a business that is has solid corporate governance and fundamentally sound. So these are a few of the lessons I've learned already. More are coming, and approaching them with open arms.
Fantastic. So I think I want to just go back to the pivots and the changes, right? You talked about staying close to the customer and customer obsession, but you've had a few different customer segments over the years, right? So you started with really banks as the main customer. If I understand correctly, building kind of back office tech solutions for banks in 2015. In 2019, you kind of transitioned to, I will say, maybe you disagree, working with merchants and agents, right? And then now it seems, in some ways, maybe not quite a pivot, but an extension, right? So moving more towards that all-in-one kind of a platform where credit is more of a focus, right? So I guess the question I want to ask you is just, for these pivots, how do you think about opportunity, right? So you were at a company, in the fintech space, and you decided to leave to start, this building tech solutions for banks. So there's something that went on in your head to say, okay, there's an opportunity here. Once you had built that out for 4 years, you now say, okay, actually, there's another opportunity to do something in the agent space. So, and now, obviously, you fundraise and you also say, wait, there's actually a bigger opportunity or, some more potential in doing something in the credit space, all in one space. So just how do you think about identifying opportunities?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I think I'll start with my beginnings. I think I've always been an entrepreneur. I have always wanted to create a world class company. And I remember growing up and uh, going through my secondary school years. I kind of like actually started by going to a an electronic workshop, and I can actually deciding to apprentice them myself, despite being going to school, having great. I had excellent grades, always top two, top three in class, but decided to enroll myself in as an apprentice in an electronics workshop because I was interested in electronics and software and computer generally then. And I began to actually make some money for myself during my teenage years then. And I had a goal then initially to kind of build a very large hardware company, like a Sony, like a Samsung, and found myself through secondary school, got admitted to university. And in university, I had a consultancy business where I was building software and hardware solutions for final year and grad students of the school. Basically, they needed help in their final year thesis, and I found a business by consulting or helping them build some of their projects. And this was good business, kind of sustained me through school, sponsored myself through school with that business. And all this while, I always knew I was going to, I knew that what I wanted was to create a world class organization. Um, of course, I'm growing and realizing that China has a very strong advantage that is systemic and macro based on the hardware front. That kind of made me focus a lot more on software businesses. And at that time, I got a job in InterSwitch because I decided I wanted to take a job because it's easier to stand on the shoulders of giants to launch than for you to start from scratch. So and I got a referral for one of the people I helped with their projects to get a job in InterSwitch. InterSwitch, I gave myself some time. I was going to do this for a while, then come do what we're doing now. It's important if that everybody has their own journey. This is not necessarily the path everybody must follow. So, and So this is not necessarily what everybody must follow, but this is the path I decided to follow, and it's a pursuit of happiness journey. And for me, it's because I enjoy building things, and as far as back as I remember, I've always been building, right? So it's a pursuit of happiness journey for me. So that's why I joined InterSwitch after 5 years, especially because I wasn't enjoying my time in InterSwitch anymore. I left and started TeamApt. I will not say we had immediate clarity of what to do immediately and starting TeamApt, but clearly one of the opportunities there were building software solutions for banks, which is what we started with the team. On working with the banks, it became clearer that it's going to be quite hard to scale that business because the traction is dependent on how much traction your banks achieve, and I don't think they're the model executor. So we decided to say, you know what, we know the problems of these people ourselves. Let's go out, and we launched Moniepoint and Moniepoint in 2019 pivot. Moniepoint is a payment gateway. Moniepoint is what's now the business banking platform. And we began to study what the market was saying about it, and we realized that we had probably hit something interesting, especially when the numbers started coming in month on month. So we, of course, like I mentioned earlier, Moniepoint was initially a point of sale device for mostly agents, but we quickly realized that other businesses were using it, and we made the platform become more generic as a merchant and agent acquisition platform. Um, Over time, we also realized that um, people began to use even the bank accounts without using a point of sale, which meant they just needed a business bank account. And our customers began to demand for certain things. Loans were some of the major things they began to demand for, which is why I said customer obsession is key, because if you listen closely to them, they'll tell you what it is. And also sometimes you also see patterns around the world. So that's how we evolved into becoming a platform rather than just a payment device, well, rather than just a payment acceptance platform. Um, so I mean, what's the next phase for us? For every business, you always want to ensure growth is constant. If you stop growing, you are dying. It's the way of the world. So uh, looking forward is more or less either you expand vertically, horizontally, or geographically. Expanding vertically is inevitable. You need to grow your market share where you are, and we're already expanding geographically. So the next lever for growth is geographic. And it turns out, like I mentioned earlier, that this theme that we're executing is a theme that is needed everywhere else in the world. So at every point in time, as we're executing, getting close to the business, you know, and you see macro trends, you know what is next, and you make those calls, you make those decisions. Um, I think I think it's Bill Gates that said, someone said something really nice about we overestimate the decisions that we can make in, let me say, weeks or months, and underestimate the decisions that we can make over a couple of years. Oftentimes, when you're close to your business and you know what's really going on, you might not be happy with the micros, but over time, you always get the macros right as long as you always do execution. So, an example is you might want a product to launch in 3 weeks, but they launch in 5 weeks. But oftentimes, where you want to be in 2 years, you will be able to get there.
No, it's fantastic. I think I mean, you're absolutely right. I know the quote you're referring to, but I want to go back to Moniepoint. And if we talked about TeamApp being kind of under the radar, right? And if you talk to a lot of people about TeamApp, what is it? They'll effectively say something around agent banking, but that's something that's really seen a strong rise in Nigeria since, 2016, 17. You guys are one of the leaders, along with some other companies. But I just want to, get it from you, somebody who's very close to that sector. What is agent banking, and what makes it attractive at this time in the ecosystem to to a bunch of players to deploy this model?
Well, it's the strong tailwind of digitization that's going on everywhere in the world. Inevitably, the cash will be replaced by digital payments. Nigeria has two major methods of payments: card or transfers, and people need to make payments with those digital methods of payments. And that's it. That's what's pushing. That's a tailwind. So, of course, the first step to people digitizing um, is not going to the bank to always withdraw cash. And the first step where they found it more convenient to use merchants that deal in cash, to use merchants called agents. So these agents are either people that are like human ATMs or are like supermarkets that do cashback, where people can buy stuff as well as get access to cash. But the main thing that is pushing it and making it thing is a wave of digitization that is inevitable because it's convenient, much more convenient to do digital payments than cash. It's much more safer and also gives you access to much more electronic benefits, like your bank knowing your turnover to be able to lend to you. So that's the main thing that's pushing that tailwind.
No, so fantastic. So just to dive a bit deeper, how does it actually work, and how do you make money, right? So what's the model? I sign up as a, let's say I'm a merchant. I have a small kiosk wherever, right? So
Yeah.
your sales guys come. I agree. I sign up. What next? I get a POS at some point, and then TeamApt. You contribute my transactions to your 100 billion per year. So just how does that all work?
Yes, that's it. I think that's a high level summary of it. You generally have a shop already that is you're running a business as a merchant in, and you make a request to get onboarded on the Moniepoint platform. We get your KYC documentation. You signed up, either self sign up or someone signs you up with your KYC documentation, which is gone through to ensure it's compliant. A bank account is opened for you under the Moniepoint Microfinance Bank. You can transfer into the bank account. You can transfer out of it. You can do bill payments. You can do airtime, all the digital banking stuff. Um, Also, you can now request for a point of sale for that your bank account. A point of sale is delivered to you. You can use the point of sale to accept payments either through transfers or through card, and your transactions will be settled into your bank account. Um, After that, based on the turnover that we have for you, we can decide to be able to lend to you, either long term or short term through an overdraft or longer term loans. You can then request for an expense card. You can set up a savings scheme on the bank account. You can decide to sign up for accounting and bookkeeping solution. Um, you can handle your payroll on the platform. So yeah, that's basically what it is. And these are all the things that businesses need in- to be able to run and grow. Payment acceptance is extremely important for them. Credit is important for them. A bank that they can rely on is very important for them. And running the operations of their business is very important for them.
No, that's fantastic. I think, Sav, before this interview, I did a bit of research on kind of you guys, TeamApt over the years. And one thing I think that's surprising in Nigeria is just the rapid rise, especially, relative to Moniepoint, relative to kind of the agent banking. And just
Mhm.
TeamApp really very quickly building out that nationwide network, right? So, I mean, I'm trying, very curious to hear from you, what do you attribute kind of that quick success to, right? You talked about a bit of reliability. I think online I've heard, and read things, some innovative things like doing daily agent settlement instead of monthly or weekly. I've read things of that talked about the treating your agents as effectively a talent network, right? So you have, strong progression. An agent can come on board and know if I perform, there's a progression for me to, to grow in this ecosystem. So I say all that to just ask you very simply, you came in the eyes of a lot of people, TMAP came from nowhere to really be a dominant player in agent banking in Nigeria. So just what do you attribute that success to?
Yeah, well, so we've gone beyond agent banking now. I want to quickly correct that. So we are positioned more like a, well, not like just positioned. We service all kinds of businesses, from agents to merchants. So we will generally use the description business banking platform. Of course, it includes agents. A large portion of our businesses are agents. But because we have actually outgrown the agency phase, we position the business is mostly focused on business banks. So grocery stores, filling stations, schools, bureau de change, car washes, restaurants, eateries, and agents are all our customers. And everything is all about payment acceptance and credit and business operations. All these kinds of businesses require it and operate it. Of course, when you also go out and you see all the agents, a good portion of all the agents also use our business banking platform. So why have we gone so fast? I think one, the team made very good decisions. I'm proud of the team that we have in terms of their decision making ability, in terms of products, decision, and innovation. So early on, for example, we pioneered a method of dispute resolution that allowed us to be able to refund customers or failed transactions proactively, generally under 24 to 48 hours, as opposed to the previous method where customers had to go to their bank to complain, and it usually took between 5 to 10 working days. We pioneered this method. It gave our business a lot of confidence to use our platforms. Two, we focus very, very, very heavily on reliability. Today, we're still known as the gold standard of reliability. Like I mentioned, it's part of the customer obsession. We are literally obsessed about ensuring our platforms are reliable. We have this huge sense of guilt, huge sense of um, remorse when things inevitably go wrong sometimes, but we're very, very focused on that. And our businesses generally trust us and rely on us. to ensure that they can process their transactions easily and smoothly. We were able to build an effective sales and distribution network also that allowed us to be able to expand pretty quickly. We also made sure that we were quite effective. We're not the cheapest, certainly. We're also not the most expensive. So in all getting all this value, we ensure that we also priced it appropriately. Key, we're not the cheapest. There are cheaper alternatives. So we basically, to summarizing that, is basically product decisions. For example, we just also launched the ability to transfer to a point of sale now. So if you use any of our point of sale, you can just transfer to the point of sale and it's going to print out a receipt just like you used your card. As far as I know, we pioneered it initially. We're also the ones that are pushing this quite out commercially. So product decisions, reliability, distribution are some of the main ways. And also, this is also because we're not beginners in the industry. Prior to building Moniepoint and Monify, we had spent many years building for banks, so we had a very solid understanding of what the market looks like. So yeah, these are some of the reasons.
No, that's fantastic insight. I think reliability because of the industry you're in, and then beyond that, kind of that a lot of innovation, customer focused innovation.
Yeah.
So it's great. I
Yes.
think. I mean, and thank you also for the clarification, right? So not agent banking, but more of that business banking. And to that
Yes.
point, right? If you mention TeamApt, there's business banking. There's the digitization. There's at least historically, serving the underserved, and I think
Yes.
increasingly the idea of banking the unbanked, right? So I'm
Yes.
just, want to get your sense on some of these terms. So some of the market opportunity here, right? So just if you, I guess I'll start at the high level, right?
Mhm.
So you talk about, I think you talk about agents as kind of, the opportunity there is really driven by this wave of digitization. So I'm just curious if you could explain what are some of the opportunities and challenges in digitizing Africa's economy.
Yeah. Opportunity clearly is it's a strong tailwind, um, because businesses will profit from digitization because it's cheaper. It gives them access to more services. Is a more effective way of running their businesses. So it's a trend. It's a global trend, and that's the opportunity. Of course, there are tons of challenges to be solved. Of course, there's a pure execution challenge of understanding the specifics of this economy of this geography and being able to build a solution that is globally made but locally relevant. locally relevant. So there's that. There are regulatory challenges of ensuring that you build an innovative yet compliant solution. There are macro challenges in many of these economies also, that are important factors to be considered. There are talent challenges. We are increasingly needing to, or hiring globally now. I would say a very large portion of our management team, including even DDA that is on the call, are all living and working outside Nigeria, our home country. So we're embracing the fact that there's global talent mobility and people can live and work from anywhere. And we're actually competing for talent in the global market. What this implies are things like compensation and benefits internal needs to be matched with global scales on global scales. There are also market challenges, specifics of being able to come up with business strategies that are going to make you succeed, more than a competition, because you're also not going to a market that is awaiting you to just come in and clear everybody. You need to fight some battles in them. Yeah, of course. Also, Africa is becoming a very interesting path the um, for investors, and we're happy to have QED joining us to become, of their first investment in Africa. So we also need to do more work in educating the global investors about Africa. They are also coming around now too. Many of them are hiring partners that are specifically focused on Africa who have local context and can give them a lot more comfort about around the kind of questions that they might be asking about the region. So yeah, challenges abound, execution challenges, compliance challenges, talent challenges, um, um, global educating the global investor uh, uh, market about the region also is an important angle of things. But the opportunities outweigh the the problems by a very large margin, and whoever is sufficiently willing, motivated enough, has a very large market in front of them. But like I also mentioned, um, this this opportunity is not actually just in Africa or Nigeria. It's actually a global market. I live here in the UK, and I can see that some of the best banks are, in my own opinion, still as shitty as possible, um, especially for businesses. And even that need of combining everything into one, there are actually it's just a fledgling uh, direction, and there's a big opportunity there. So it's actually these opportunities actually, and a strong parallel that has done this very very well is Square. Square has done a very terrific job of doing this in the US. They've expanded to many more countries, maybe about 3 or 4 more countries, but the US is still their biggest market. So being able to replicate this even in the most advanced countries in Europe and not just outside Africa, in LATAM, is actually large opportunities, and that's the way we're looking at the business.
No, that's fantastic. So in some ways, it sounds like the ambition or one ambition, or you'd be happy, to be seen and have the success of Square in Africa and beyond.
That's correct.
Right.
In fact, we already have Nigeria. The rest, after this, is the rest of the world for us. The world
Got
is
it.
a single market for us. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, no. So before we go into that world market, I want to come back to Africa specifically, but at a high level, right? So you have pretty deep experience in fintech in Africa. Obviously with TeamApt. Before that, with InterSwitch, which is one of the African unicorns, right? So I just want to get from a practitioner, somebody who's not just a practitioner, pioneer at the forefront of the industry. Just what do you can you just talk a bit about your view of the evolution of fintech, right? As somebody who's kind of analyzing it, it might seem like a fintech has attracted a lot of investor attention, and b, a lot of that so far has been on payments, on infrastructure, and a lot of that infrastructure is payments infrastructure, right? So just if you could talk a bit about your view of the evolution, why have we seen some of what we've seen today?
Yeah. So I mean, the evolution of this fintech, which is technology for finance, is kind of like it's inevitable also because finance is an important part of the um human for culture, essentially, for existence. Almost everything that we do has some form of value exchange being done. And um, prior to having technology companies focused on finance, you had banks who saw themselves as banks that technology enabled. So, and what this meant is that they saw tech as a back office function, tech as some of our tech guys are going to work on this. We are the business guys. We are the real business. We are the bankers. And what this meant is that they built processes that were long, slow, dependent on forms, and customers were at the end suffering. Now, technology has come along, being run by people who are both tech guys as well as business guys. And these guys are now building processes and systems that are taking advantage of the advantages of technology, the ease of replicating it, how easy it easy. It makes it for customers, how faster it is, and inevitably cheaper. And this is a trend of what we have been seeing in the last decade of bringing the advantages of technology to finance and taking out portion of businesses that the traditional businesses have been doing, as well as unlocking new use cases for technology. Um, and this trend has continued quite for a while now, and it's going to still continue because I think we're in the age of tech, and this is going to actually be here for a while. There are more trends to watch out for, though. These trends, of course, includes things like artificial intelligence. The good thing with trends is that they are trends. You always see them coming. You either now know how to do something with it, or not. Some trends are fads; they will die off. Some trends will not die off. Artificial intelligence is something that's going to be here for a while, also. And we need to be able to leverage it to do certain things. We've seen the rise of AI, or at least data science, in credit decisioning processes. How you can be able to see trends in large data sets that otherwise human beings might not have seen, and this is a trend we should look forward to in the future. AI can also apply to fraud detection, anomaly detection, that can help you also protect your organization a lot more better. We can also begin to look at the blockchain technology. The blockchain technology and its touted use cases. People have talked about how it can be used for cross-border, but in my own opinion, you don't have to use blockchain for cross-border. We just really need to rework cross-border and make it faster and cheaper. It doesn't have to be used by a blockchain. But then again, the blockchain use case has created very large capitalizations in crypto, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, which are likely here to stay. Is it a payment method? Is it an asset? We don't know. We're not very sure. Nobody's extremely sure. However, it is a thing that is relevant and it is here also. So that's another trend to watch. There are proponents of the CBDCs, that's the central bank digital currencies, which is also a way where it can be enabled with blockchain that allows the central bank to be able to build a general ledger for specific use cases or general use cases, which of course eNaira is an example of such. So blockchain, crypto, artificial intelligence are things to watch out for. The global migration of talent is also, though not specific to fintech, but also general to technology, is also another trend to watch out for. I think these are a few things I think we all need to watch out for in the future that will affect the state of the financial technology business.
Thank you for that. I mean, it's very interesting, to have your view on somehow how some of these trends that we see now could affect tech, fintech, business in general on the continent and across the world. I guess while you were talking, something that came to mind is I'm very curious. I mean, it's clear to me you're somebody that keeps track of kind of what's happening, and at the same time, we talked earlier about just your ability, your demonstrated ability to kind of understand and identify opportunities. So I'm curious as to if you weren't doing fintech now, or if you were doing something else, like what do you see are the biggest opportunities, right? For someone that's not doing TeamApt, right? If you weren't doing TeamApt, what would you be excited by?
Okay, so I mean, there are two different questions in my own opinion. In that there is what will I, Tosin, be doing, and there's also what other big opportunities exist. Um, um, what will I be doing? I think I'll still be building something. Um, it's certainly going to be still going to be something technology and engineering related. Like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to build a large hardware company. So because I actually love and enjoy building, the process of building and seeing the results is something quite thrilling for me. So I'm going to be building something else. In which market, which economy, uh, I'm not so sure of right now. But I think a guideline for me is always finding that sweet spot or something you love to do, something that you're good at, and something that pays very, very well. There are a couple of other fields that fall into that category, but it looks like tech, as we know globally right now, is still one of the things that pays well the most right now, which I love doing. Some people say I am good at. So, without saying something specific, it's still going to be in the line of tech. Um, what other opportunities abound exist? There are tons of opportunities. I think if people knew this, the other opportunities and every other, and these are things that everybody else, nobody else knows, then you are going to be onto something really big. The point here is that everything that is really interesting and big, we all know about. We just all find different angles to take on the same problems. We know of technology, like I mentioned. We know of financial technology type. We know of edutech. We know of prop tech. We know of ag tech, all the kind of techs. Um, of course, we know um, agriculture, of course, in Nigeria, for example, and Africa generally is also something really large besides technology. Um, we know energy is also something quite interesting. So there are many other trends in the world that which are pretty public and popular that are also interesting opportunities. For me personally, I will, however, almost always narrow on the tech type opportunities. So if I wasn't building TeamApt or Moniepoint, I'm going to be building something else that's tech related.
No, that's fantastic. It's just out of personal interest, personal curiosity for that question. Okay, no, I guess I mean we're kind of wrapping up here, but I want to talk a bit about the fundraise, right? So you guys, as you mentioned already, QED is now on the cap table. QED being one of the premier global fintech investors. You're now their first investment in Africa, right? So a lot is out there. I wouldn't go into kind of the details, but there's a few kind of questions. I think there's you raised a undisclosed amount from them. It's kind of a pre-Series C, and I think a lot of people are curious about the valuation, right? I won't ask you about the valuation specifically, but I'm curious, to have your thoughts on unicorn status, right? Specifically, is there or what's the difference between having a 800, $900 million valuation and that $1 billion number? Is there a real significance there to you?
For me personally, other than I think without trying to admit or confirm any kind of number, I think, what can I say? Um, I think first of all, the round itself, we're happy to have QED join. I think we're going to hopefully announce a round um, as soon as we have closed a proper round where all the information around valuation and type might be made public. No guarantees, but might be made public to satisfy um, people's curiosity, which I know admit that we have piqued already. Like we've piqued people's curiosity on that. So, and you could also know that there are a lot of reasons why we might decide not to want to announce yet. Also, it's also not the best time in the market right now. Stock were down. I've been down 70-80% of their valuations 2 years ago. If you look at comparables of people that raised high, if you want to value those companies now, some of them are going to be 50, 60, 70% down. not the valuation with 70% of down, which means they're going to be worth 20, 30, 40% of what they were worth before. So you could do, and that's why people are not announcing mega rounds or big rounds right now. And I think that's another reason why our news actually went further than we expected. We're just doing a routine announcement. We never knew it's going to be interesting to a lot of people, and I think it's because people feel even in such a down market, even in such a bear market, we still find investors interested in us to that scale and that magnitude, which is an indication of the quality of the business that we are building. So, just to simply summarize that, without necessarily confirming or denying anything, is I am looking forward for us making a proper announcement, hopefully soon. But let's also know that uh, the market is down. That people's valuations are now worth between 20 to 40% of what they used to be worth before.
Got it. No, so it's I think that's helpful. And I guess we'll all be looking forward to the next announcement from TeamApt. So I think just as we wrap up, I want to ask a question about what's next for TeamApt. So you've kind of discussed it a bit, right? And I think also Benga in the write up about why QED invested kind of framed it as Act One is you're on the last legs of Act One, which is kind of a lot of I will say agent led payments processing, right? And then Act Two is now using that backbone to layer on a number of things, right? And the main thing, as somebody who's just digesting that information, seems to be credit, right? So a lot of obviously you have QED, who has a lot of operational and investing expertise relative to credit. So could you just talk to me about how you think about credit and how that plays a role, what role that plays in the future of TeamApt?
Yeah, I mean, credit for us is an important next major thing that we've been focused on now, which is a big need. A large population businesses are still considered, they are still excluded from credit because banks don't have the means to be able to underwrite their credit requirements at scale. So you see banks focusing on some of the biggest businesses as well as some of the small businesses also, but not to the extent of where it goes quite far around. And we have come up with the strength of our distribution network and the fact that we have a business that is predicated on a good business turnover on payments. This gives us extra advantages in being able to reach and underwrite credit. So we are building and we have built internal competence to be able to do this. We, of course, with the backing of the license that we have acquired. And it's one of the reasons we're also excited about having QED join us also. QED is a non-respected investor in credit businesses and also an operator also themselves, having been founded by some of the founders of Capital One, one of some of the largest businesses in the world, having backed Klarna also for a while, Credit Karma, WageStream, Newbank. These are all big global businesses that they have been part of their story. And we think having such an operational experience to join us and hustle with us in the trenches is going to be an important step for us. So the credit opportunity is quite large, quite significant. We don't think we'll turn into a credit business completely, however. It's going to be a part of our offering. It's an interesting part of the product offerings that we're having also. So yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. So it sounds like, obviously in some cases when, some people, have premier global investors come to their cap tables in Africa, a lot of that is really due to signaling, right? But it sounds like it's not only a signaling play or interest for TeamApp. There's actually some real synergies there.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
There are real synergies there. They are operators.
Yeah,
They attend management retreats. They have credit committee calls. So it's not Signal is certainly an interesting part of the proposition, but we've never really been uh, a signaling type company, having operated in the background for so long. So yeah, for us it's beyond the signaling. It's also the fact that we also have people that can help us scale and grow the business.
fantastic. That real business impact. Okay, I think I
Yeah.
mean just as we come to an end here, the last question that I want to ask is just for you, our audience. Imagine a large part of our audience is folks not on the ground, and even for folks on the ground, they're interested in building, right? So, just what advice would you give to folks, building companies in or for Africa?
Yeah. Um. So let's say, so first of all, building, interested in building. So I think first of all, you should make sure that you want to do this. It's one of the things I always caveat. Some of a founder's life, especially people where we get public admiration or public exposure, sometimes can look glamorous, but it's not necessarily glamorous. It's sometimes lonely. It's pretty stressful. I can tell you for sure that I work longer than a lot of my um a lot of people that work in TeamApt. I can tell you that for sure. And I know this is also the story of a lot of founders also. So you must first of all be sure that this is what you want to do and you actually enjoy it. It's not because you want it for the fame or necessarily for the money. Um, the money part is also quite interesting, but there's a diminishing return on money. After you've gotten money to a certain extent, like Mr. Bill Gates said, a hamburger is a hamburger. So be sure that you want to do this. However, if you want to do this, awesome, let's go. It can also be quite fulfilling if you are able to be successful at it. So having cleared the fact that it's not necessarily everybody that should do this, but you are made for this, you are cut for this, and you really want to do this. There are easier paths to happiness, but you want to take this path. Next will be choose your markets wisely. I think that's the first thing. Um, you could hustle and hustle very, very well, but the total addressable market that you have is just $50 million. You are not going to get more than a portion of your market. But you could be the worst hustler and you're focused on a market that's $1 trillion. So that has a huge leverage on your business. You need to ensure that you have the biggest opportunities that is going to be worth your time. And as a profit organization, your time is mostly going to be measured by the money that you generate out of it. Not necessarily because you want the money, but that's because that's the definition of a company. It's mostly measured by revenue. So after that, make sure that you actually know your business. It sounds cliched, but unfortunately, you'll be shocked at the number of leaders that think that they should hire people that know more than them. You should hire people that more than one that know more than you actually, but you should know a pretty shitload of your business. You should know the business to an extent where they cannot tell you nonsense. And I feel like there's lots of management philosophies out there that speak otherwise. It's bullshit. If you need to know your fucking business and hire people that know it more than you also. And create an environment that is people enjoy working in. Right? People enjoying working in an organization does not mean you want to create a kumbaya family type. No. Actually, people love winning. It's like being in a sports team. You don't want to be Manchester United of late. You want to always be a team that is winning. So you want to create an environment that is set up for winning, where people can actually contribute to winning. They can see their part in creating this team that is going to be winning. They enjoy doing it. They get the feedback they're doing. They see the result of their work and they're compensated. They're actually four M's to making people really want to work with for you. One is meaning. Make sure the things that you're working on has meaning. People can see why they are doing it, and they can see it has like a global social impact. The next M is mastery, creating a challenging work environment where people can get better and know they used to be here, now they are here. People love that. The next M is membership. This is showing that you're part of a tribe, you're part of a crew, and your place in that crew is known and recognized. And the last M, but not necessarily the least or the highest, is money. Make sure that people are compensated well enough. So, setting up a team with those four main values will ensure that you have a team that is working hard and love what they are doing also. Then so choose your market, make sure you have the right team. There's a thought process around fundamental level reasoning. It's related to knowing your business also. Try to ensure that you don't just make decisions on the basis of this is the direction, this is like on basis of parallels or analogies, but you are able to boil problems down to fundamentals, first principles, and assemble solutions on the basis of all these fundamentals. Um, Make sure you have fun doing it. I think at the end of the day, we are all equalized by the nature, the summary of our life when we hit our grave while on earth is my own opinion, the summary of how well, and how well is defined as how much positive feelings we had through the period. So, and work forms a huge portion of our lives. So make sure that you have fun doing what you're doing. And of course, there are other parts of our lives, like personal segments, that you should ensure that you also find happiness in. So I think that's it for me. I hope I didn't get too far.
No, I think that's just you a lot of insight there in terms of markets, in terms of team building, in terms of personal fulfillment, whether that's compensation, having fun, right? No, so Tosin, thank you so much. Deeply appreciate the time. Really enjoyed the conversation with you. I think we'll all be looking forward to kind of the next phase of you guys' evolution. And yeah, I think we'll also be looking for the next announcement and the growth in the ecosystem relative to not only unicorns but also just maturity and global recognition of what's going on. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emeka. It was nice talking to you. Thank you. Thank you.